Your Grace, the charts say we near Tusley.
Angren renders charts helpless to show the way, I fear. Soon we shall halt to sight our exact position. We will know then if our path is true.
As you wish, Your Grace.
Here we must part.
Began the druid, waking Meave from deep thought.
We wish you good fortune, Your Majesty, and give thanks for the road shared with this modest gift.
As the druids turned and walked away, the Lyrians' horses, unbidden, stepped back and bowed their heads. Meave gazed long after the travellers, and only then opened the bundle. The gift was indeed quite modest.
The trees no longer wish us here. They call for someone else.
Oh, lads, I don't fancy tweets, but you're ever good for pokes, and I'm ass over tits.
Meave and the horseman beside her exchanged a perplexed glance. They'd heard the song clearly, both its tune and its verse. Whoever had hollered it had to be close, and given their diction, rather well oiled. Moments later, a hamlet appeared to the Lyrians' tired eyes. A great bonfire blazed at its center. Around it danced peasants, barefoot, giggling, hooting, joyful and carefree. One by one, they noticed the Queen. Soon, all were silent, huddled together, children peering from behind their backs.
Fear not,
Said Meave.
we mean you no harm. What do you celebrate? A lad's grooming? Nuptials?
Nay, my lady. Hell yes. The gods have been kind. Filled us nets and snares with game. Come time we thank them.
Yes. You've things to be thankful for.
We do, my lady. And we's poor folk. So a queen. Well, you must as well. Your Majesty, stay tonight, feast with us. There'll be music and plenty of rum by the fire.
Why not?
Began Meave, daintily dismounting.
We all deserve some respite, I suppose.
The Lyrians needed no convincing. With astonishing haste, they removed mail and helmets, then eagerly joined in the feting and dance. Amidst the trilling of flutes, fifes, and fiddles, all those gathered revelled until dawn. They could rest at last, forget about Nilfgaard and the many beasts that prowled among the reeds. They'd long remember that night. The carefree laughter, peasant maids whirling in dance, the ale cold as a mountain spring, and the bread they crisped over the fire. One exchange in particular etched itself into the Queen's mind, an exchange she overheard.
Not a little? Not even a teeny tiny bit?
I'll say it again. It's not your concern.
Of course it's not. Wouldn't be so damn curious if it were. So be it. Keep your silence. But those eyes like the summer sky, that hair like waves of grain. I see the way you gape.
What do you two speak of?
Your Majesty.
Couldn't have answered that better myself.
Who does Reynard gape at?
Ha! The new ballista, what else? Ah, what a piece of work. Pure art, I say. Can't tear your eyes away for an instant.
Haven't you two held enough from me already? Don't play me for a fool. What's this about?
Meave, honestly, you do better to...
It's a private matter, Your Grace. One of the heart, you might say. If you'd allow it, I'd rather not share the details of our conversation.
All right. I'll leave you to discuss whatever men discuss. Consider me gone.
Meave turned and walked back to the fire, sat down on an old stump,
Ha! That was close. Shh!
and the faintest of smiles crossed her lips. Meave expected the villagers to request recompense for their welcome, yet the peasants made not the slightest mention of coin, and the Queen was much moved by their kindness. Once again, those with the least had proved the most willing to share. The Lyrians did not assemble come the morn. The force marched off in the afternoon, unshaven, unbathed, dishevelled. Not normally one to overlook contempt for discipline, that day Meave understood even soldiers needed to let their guard down, at times.
Admire, admire, ample harvest yield, for our mistress all need be kneeled.
Ugly bird, play us more your prose. Sing again, we'll dance a bit, and then we'll fix your nose.
In Angren's swamps, one can easily lose one's way. Thick fog fills the air, paths end without warning, dense thickets obscure the distance. The sole way to determine one's position is to climb a tree and peer out over the canopy. This duty fell to Meave's scouts, while the force halted below. During one such delay, Meave caught the words she'd longed to hear.
Majesty! Tuzla Castle! Its tower! I see it!
To her soldiers' astonishment, Meave cast off her gauntlets and started up the nearest trunk. She longed to see the castle for herself, but then she would know sweet vengeance was at hand. The climb proved tricky, as the trunk was slippery and the branches, run through with rot, were frail. Yet Meave showed herself to be skillful and spry. As a child, she had loved to scale trees, much to her governess' dismay. Meave looked out to see a mighty stone tower outlined against the horizon. Legend holds Tuzla Castle was to have had 3 such bastions. Yet King Ragbard, the fort's benefactor, had forsaken the effort when yet another stone transport simply sank into Angren's boggy roads. It was a moment of respite for Meave, a moment of quiet joy. She breathed and tasted air free of the bog stench. She took in silence undisturbed by the hum of mosquito swarms. And she relished her prospects. The coming battle against Caldwell. The soldiers stood exhausted and filthy, many with raspy coughs, all sick of the meager gruel. But with the command to advance, a new strength sparked within them. Their step was lively, a fire burned in their eyes, each hoping to spill Caldwell's entrails, then dash them upon the fort walls. Yet as they drew near the stronghold, perched atop a stone isle, their verve dwindled, enthusiasm waned. They had taken fortresses with thicker walls, taller towers, and manned by more men. Yet they'd never seen nor laid siege to a fort standing on land so ill-suited. To rush the bulwarks through waist-deep mud, was this even possible?
Prove I was no fool to keep you at my side,
said Meave, turning to Gascon and Reynard.
A slaughter I must avoid. How will I do it?
Your Grace,
began Reynard.
set our machines to sling boulders at the west wall, its weakest. 'Tis our best chance at a breach.
Our men'll need cover,
added Gascon.
Reeds we must harvest and burn. Smoke will cloak us, conceal us from the castle's defenders.
Good.
Agreed the Queen.
Now get to work.
Amidst billowing blue smoke, Lyrian footmen rushed through the breach wrought by Reynard's catapults. Though she had yet to forgive her companions, Meave had to admit they'd given her sound advice.
Caldwell, I've come for your head.
I knew you'd come. Your lofty pride presages another dramatic fall.
No one touch him. The Count is mine.
Many of Meave's victories have been immortalized in poetry and song, but not the fall of Tuzla. Lyrians fought Lyrians. Brothers killed brothers, in rain and mud, midst a cursed swamp. Certainly nothing to inspire a bard. Near the battle's end, Meave stormed the great stone tower to which Caldwell had fled. The Queen ascended the stairs, dealing blow after blow, blood cascading down in her wake. She reached the top floor to find the Count waiting, with no intention to defend himself.
If it's mercy you expect, you'll be sorely disappointed.
Mercy? I know you all too well for that, Meave. Ever vindictive and cruel.
All this from a paragon of knightly virtues. You stabbed me in the back, Caldwell, and used Willem to do so. My son!
Who agreed without a moment's hesitation. Forsaken by your own soul, your flesh and blood. What's that say about you?
Oh, you tread on thin ice. Choose your next words carefully.
Spare me your threats. You'll kill me all the same.
Death can come in many ways, Count. Some quick, some slow.
My, how you strut and vaunt. Terribly sure of yourself. Perhaps too sure.
Your castle is mine. I've crushed your force. I dare say no, I'm not.
Precisely my point. Don't you see? The Empire's not one army, it's dozens, hundreds. It's what I strove to knock into that thick dome of yours. Alas, you're too much a dullard. Soon as I'd learned you'd crossed into Angren, I sent for reinforcements. They'll be here soon. 3 regiments, armed to the teeth.
Nilfgaardians seem ever to have the upper hand, yet I find the means to defeat them.
Not this time, Meave. Nilfgaard comes in numbers. 10 Imperial footmen to each and every one of yours. You'll not win, nor can you flee. Do you know why?
Enlighten me. I dare you.
But one bridge leads to Tuzla. As it happens, I ordered it raised as you laid siege. The swamps around the castle are too deep to cross. Try to rebuild the bridge, the Imperial troops will arrive before you can finish. Your men they'll slay as you watch, and then they'll wring your neck.
I wouldn't be so pleased were I you. You won't live to see this outcome.
I know that, but I take heart in the truth. Though the castle you've seized and will likely kill me, I've won. Outsmarted you, Meave. Twice now. And you know what? 'Twasn't even that hard.
With those words, with his arrogance and contempt, Caldwell had gone too far. The Queen gripped his shoulders, pushed. Caldwell stumbled backwards, then tripped out the window. A blood-chilling shriek filled the courtyard, then broke off abruptly.
Now fool me thrice. Try.
Meave slapped the dust from her hands. The traitor had met a deserving end at last. Yet this was no time to revel in the Count's demise. If Caldwell had spoken the truth, the Queen and her army were in grave danger. Meave's scouts quickly confirmed the traitor's claim. The bridge was indeed in flames, and Nilfgaardian regiments were advancing from the south. Now to confirm if there was truly no other route by which they could flee. The Queen ordered her men to ask the local peasants. One of their number, a stable hand who'd lived near Tuzla all his life, claimed a secret path led out the back of the stronghold.
King Ragbard himself ordered it built. Had him drop great stones into its swamp, one after another, like beads on a string. Bit of water covers them, so you can't see nowt at start. Can make 'em out if you go proper slow, though.
What is it?
The stones, they lead to Isgith. And there, my lady, lurks an evil worse nor any black-clad army.
What? A beast of some sort?
Some say beast, others god. Gurnikora, they call her. And you'll yet see, my lady. Isgith shines red wi' her blood.
A silly tale to frighten children, Meave thought at first. Then paused. For something about the man's voice made his every word believable.
None too encouraging, yet preferable to certain death. Tell me, from Isgith, will we reach the banks of the Yaruga, near Red Lobendon perchance?
Aye, your majesty. You need but head north. And pray all along the way.
Soon, Meave stood where the stable hand had said she should, at the edge of a vast marsh. Carefully, she dipped a foot into the broth and probed for solid ground. Sure enough, she found stone. One cautious step, then another. Meave slowly strode off towards Isgith. With the path to Isgith hidden from view, Meave proceeded like one blind, moving solely by touch. With each step, she could not know if she would find rock or plunge beneath the black water's surface. The Queen's soldiers followed single file, carefully mirroring her every move. The Lyrians, near the end of their strength, got lucky when a light breeze dispersed the fog to reveal dry land. The Queen let out a sigh of relief.
At last.
Meave kicked off her boots to empty them of water and mud, then promptly screamed.
Ah!
Her legs were in leeches, slimy, bloated leeches. Ignoring the pain and trickling blood, she frantically tore them from her legs, wishing to be rid of them. Having plucked the last parasite from her calf, Meve grabbed her boot to crush the bloodsucker beneath her heel. Yet it had already slithered off. She spotted it on the trunk of a birch where, like a very fast snail, it was climbing.
What the devils?
But Meve's words caught in her throat. Leeches and ticks in the dozens dangled from the tree's branches. Some were so gorged on blood that their skin was translucent and on the point of bursting. Meve had some difficulty muting the urge to retch.
The fruit of Iskith,
She muttered, now savvy to the peasants' warnings, understanding why they never ventured into these marshes. The Lyrians marched in silence, too tired to keep in step with the drums. Suddenly, the wind rose to a howl, and there was a loud crash of thunder.
Blast!
Meve leapt from her saddle.
We camp here. Pitch the tents, quickly, quickly!
As the soldiers rushed to unload the wagons, a wall of water came down, soaking them to the bone. Later, they sat in their leaky tents, huddled, teeth chattering, violent coughs rocking their frames. The storm raged the night through, then finally passed before dawn. Meve emerged from her tent to wring out her coat. Reynard approached, his gait heavy, his face grim.
Your Majesty, several men of the 11th, a dozen or so, sought to flee last night. Sentries stopped and bound them. Now they await your judgment.
Meve fastened her still wet coat. She knew well why the men had tried to desert. They longed for their kin, had lost sight of victory, perhaps even no longer believed. Yet the marching and fighting seemed destined to go on forever. The Queen sympathized. She too was spent, and many doubts plagued her. Yet she knew the deserters had to be punished. The question was, to what extent? Meve entered the tent where the prisoners stood. Some of the men looked away, ashamed at their deed. Others raised their gazes to meet hers, their eyes red, tearful, pleading.
You all know the penalty for desertion.
Meve said to the soldiers bound at wrist and foot.
I ought to have every last one of you hanged. Yet, we've come far along a treacherous road. Endured hardships extreme. This I considered against your crime. You shall lose rank and receive no pay for 1 year. Now get out of my sight. Immediately!
The deserters mumbled their gratitude and rushed out of the tent, fearing the Queen might yet change her mind. Meve then left for her quarters, anger and bitterness eating her up from the inside.
Gods, have we passed the very threshold into hell?
Close ranks. None is to step off the path without clear orders to do so.
While accustomed to life mid swamp monsters and black magic, Angren's denizens never dared enter Isgith. The Lyrians only once saw signs of a human presence there, when they spotted a group of thatched-roof huts amongst alders.
That settlement, is it inhabited?
Meve asked, turning to her scouts.
Impossible to say from this distance, Your Grace.
The Lyrians entered the village, swords in hand, prepared to fight. But not a soul nor a beast came forth. Some homes had collapsed from rot, while tall grass concealed the paths between them. Yet, someone had been there not long past, for fresh ghoul cadavers lay by the well. Meve knelt beside the corpse of one cut clear in half. The beast's killer had been exceptionally strong, and wielded a razor-sharp sword.
More likely to come around.
Meve leapt to her feet. A man in thick leather armor had emerged from one of the huts. Transfixed by his cat eyes, the Queen nonetheless sensed he was rather badly hurt.
Were that true, my scouts would have blown their horns.
The man pulled out a pendant shaped like a bear's head. It hummed and twitched as if striving to free itself of its chain.
Far as monsters go,
he said, lips curling into an unpleasant smile.
Witchers aren't usually wrong.
A moment later, a scream pierced the air. Quickly, instinctively, Meve drew her sword and lunged forth.
They approach! seems you were right.
I feel a strong magic here, my lady. Something controls these creatures.
That'll be the last of them. Should be quiet. For a bit.
The Lyrians emerged victorious, due in no small part to the Witcher.
Thanks for the help. Name's Ivo, Witcher, School of the Bear.
Meve, Queen of Lyria and Rivia.
Well, well. Didn't expect to see anyone out here. And certainly not a queen with an army in tow.
We're not here by choice.
I bet not. No one plans to pass through Isgith.
And you? What's brought you here? A contract, perchance?
That's right. Hunting a monster.
I know your services to be rather dear. Who could afford a witcher's bounty in these wretched swamps?
Nilfgaardians.
Blast, of course. Preparing the land for settlement. Cull the monsters, drain the swamp, then bring in slaves. Doubtless from the north.
Maybe. I got paid in advance. I didn't see the need to ask any questions.
But did you have to take the coin? Don't you see what they're doing?
Forgive me, your majesty, but seems to me you're confusing witchers with knights errant. We don't fight oppression, right wrongs, or avenge orphans. We slay monsters for coin. And it don't matter whose head's on the front or whose coffers it's from.
This beast you're out to slay, what is it?
Hang on. You mean to tell me you've led your force into Isgith and don't even know what lives here?
I believe I was clear. We're not here by choice.
Yeah, but now that you are here, it'll take a minor miracle to get you out. Isgith swamps, realm of a truly dangerous being. Elves call it Gvern Iker, the Bloody Mistress. Over generations, locals twisted the name until it became Gurnikora.
Indeed. I've heard it.
So you've also probably seen her beloved fruit, leeches and ticks. You'd all be wise to stay away from them.
This Gurnikora, what is she exactly?
Depends who you ask. Elves saw a fallen goddess in her. Never managed to cut her down while they lived here, but they did stem her growth, kept her from growing stronger. As for the local humans, spirit of a cursed princess, that's their take. Deep belief, actually.
Care to elaborate?
Stories that she was riding north to marry a Temerian duke. Whole retinue and caravan got lost, wagons got stuck, everybody drowned in the bog. Quicksand got him, that sort of thing. Gurnikora grabbed a root before the quagmire swallowed her whole. Hollered for hours, but there wasn't a soul around to hear her. Leeches, hundreds covered her, settled in for a royal feast. Sucked her dry, drained her to pretty much the last drop. Fear and revulsion so completely overcame her spirit, she couldn't pass into the afterlife. So she came back, revived by Isgith's magic.
Ugh. A chilling tale.
Yeah, except made up, probably. Don't believe the elven legends either. Gurnikora's a monster, plain and simple. Extremely dangerous, sure, but just a monster.
The leeches and ticks, you called them her fruit.
It's kinda complicated.
We've time enough.
Gurnikora's a little like a vampire. They're kindred creatures. Except, instead of feasting on the blood of others, she feeds them her own.
I'm not certain I understand.
They're parasites, right? She puts them on her body, feeds them her own blood. Then hangs them on shrubs and trees.
Ugh. To what end?
To other monsters, they're delicacies. Sweet, juicy, full of Gurnikora's blood. Irresistible. Any beast that tastes that loses its mind, turns into Gurnikora's slave. So, if your paths cross and push comes to shove, she's not gonna be alone. Find yourself fighting the whole damn swamp.
How are we to fight her? How might she be killed?
Sorry, sharing secrets. Just not something we do.
Not even with those who saved your life just moments past?
We gotta wait till she starts feeding the parasites. She's weakest then. Stand a chance to hurt her.
Right. So we attack only once she puts the leeches to her skin.
Yeah. And when you kill her, if you kill her, any beasts under her spell will weaken considerably. And then, you gotta burn her corpse. I mean it, understand? Burn it.
And you? Will you not hunt her any longer?
Oh, I will. Just need to prepare. Realized that today. Gotta brew some potions, blade oils. Come back in a few days.
I don't even have that much time. Nilfgaard's hordes pursue us. I must march on.
In that case, wish you luck. Lots of it.
I suppose there's no argument that would persuade you to ride with us.
Your Grace, mutations strip us of emotion, not reason.
The Witcher vanished midst the trees. And Meve simply hoped her soldiers had not overheard any part of their conversation. Caldwell had summoned Nilfgaardian support. Meve assumed they were not far behind. Yet in the unforgiving terrain, a full Nilfgaardian division could not hope to close the gap. Small detachments, however, light cavalry or footmen, could very well do just that. So when black-clad men emerged from the mist, the Queen was not surprised. She ordered her troops to fall in, form up, and brace to defend the line. Yet the attack never came. The invaders stood silent, motionless, and Meve got a closer look. They were slouched, ashen-faced, unsure of step, and covered in sores. Isgith had treated them as cruelly as any. Teetering in his saddle, the commander broke formation. He rode forth and addressed the Queen in fluent common tongue.
Half my men are wounded, the others sick. Your force does not fare much better.
True. Yet we outnumber you soundly.
Indeed. If it comes to combat, you are certain to win. But in this damp swamp, all wounds fester. Flesh is quick to rot. You will lose many more apart from those who fall.
What do you mean, precisely?
Asked the Queen, her eyes narrowing, her head tilted to the side.
We should part ways in peace. There's a war on, there'll be another chance to fight. Perhaps even face one another. But not here. And not like this.
Suddenly unsure, the Queen weighed the officer's words. Their logic was sound, though they could also prove a ruse.
Your Grace.
Xavier's voice came from behind Meve's back.
We can't let them pass. They've done only harm, and they'll not stop and go home.
So be it. I accept.
Meve answered after thinking a while.
We shall cross swords some other day, beneath a clear sky, on solid ground.
I will hold you to your word, Majesty,
replied the Nilfgaardian, then raised his arm in salute. The retreating Imperials marched past the Lyrians. Along the slim path, their shoulders nearly touched. Meve soldiers glared from beneath their brows, their eyes locked on the foe till the last vanished in the woods. Then, collectively, they let out a sigh of relief. The Lyrian force had reached the very heart of Isgith. From every branch, vine, and shrub hung leeches and ticks by the dozen. Swollen with blood, their abdomens glistened, glowing red in the misty air. Air so putrid it set Meve's head to spinning. She paused at a moss-covered boulder, pressed her flushed forehead against its cool surface. Her soldiers passed by, pallid, filthy, drained. She wished to say something, lift their spirits. But instead a cough rattled her breast. Suddenly, splashes, all around Meve in the water, as if a rain of fist-sized drops had begun to fall. The Queen lifted her heavy gaze. Seemingly on command, ticks and leeches dropped into the warm, soupy waters, then clumsily wriggled off toward a dead alder grove. Meve knew at once what skulked behind the trees. Gurnikora, Isgith's mistress, Isgith's queen.
Weapons at the ready!
The Queen roared.
Close ranks!
The Lyrians quickly converged, formed a wall of shields, and crouched behind them. Terrified, they stared as a multitude of eyes flashed open midst the branches, while revolting, muck-covered beasts rose from the gurgling waters around. Meve silently uttered a prayer. Hail, Melitele, great mother, maiden, and crone. Ever have us in your care.
Everyone, rally to me! I believe it's dead.
Of the battle in Isgith, Meve remembered very little. It seemed a nightmare, its details a haze, the sensations very real. Midst a thick fog, she fought in a frenzy, desperately hacking at the scourge that advanced from all sides. In the end, silence fell over the swamp. Its boiling waters lay calmed. The ticks and leeches were gone, while Guernicora lay among rotting leaves, covered in blood, unmoving. But still a fearsome sight.
Burn the corpse,
Rasped the queen.
and we move on.
The soldier's eyes darted about in a series of silent glances. It took Meve a moment to realize the difficulty. They still feared it. Though the monster's lifeless body lay on the ground, they dared not go near. Were she to repeat the order, they would carry it out. Yet she did not wish to force that on them. Swallowing her own revulsion, she walked up to Guernicora's corpse and set it alight. The air soon filled with the suffocating stench of burning hair and flesh. Sparks belched out as melting fat fell on flame. Until, finally, nothing was left of the bloody mistress but scorched bone. The Lyrians resumed their march towards the banks of the Yaruga. They forced their weary legs to maintain a swift pace and stole no second glance at what they'd left behind.